whole focus is on the police, and
Right.
the dispatchers is the one that sets the tone
Yeah.
and sets the stage. So I'm grateful that you've done that, and I just wish we could include especially the community review board and the council. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your questions. Other questions? Council? Councilman Warner?
I don't have a question. I'm familiar with the program. I thank you, Cindy, for your work and Oaklawn and its commitment to our community through the crisis response team, the crisis intake center, all of the work you do, your assistance to law enforcement, to Casey and her team, to Jade and Henry at County, to their team. I know the numbers you show are a drop in the bucket, right? If you go to a domestic kind of scene where it's often somebody in the family is having a crisis, and it's so it doesn't get tagged as a mental health call or somebody overdosing. It doesn't get tagged as a mental health call, but we're still kind of trying to provide those services where the criminal act didn't escalate to a point of arrest. We're still trying to provide those services in response to those activities. So thank you very much for what you do and your commitment to our community.
Councilwoman Bolden Simpson?
Thank you. Just real quickly, I am thoroughly impressed. And as educators, we have to go through, in the schools, we have to go through training crisis also. I do challenge you that data gathering is very important. And so continue to try to get that more accurate. I know people forget to fill out different paperwork. What can you do to help them to not forget? And so you can get better data to make this program even better than it is. Very impressive. Keep
Yeah,
up the good
you are
work.
absolutely right. And it's obviously potentially a key to getting grants and funding and things as well. We're hoping with Gelada, if we can get, we have partial funding for that. If we can get the rest of the funding, that is going to give us all the data that I think we're missing. That's the hope anyway.
Councilwoman Nutzgatsky, do you have any questions, comments?
No real questions. I think you guys are pretty thorough in listening to my fellow council members and some of the questions they asked. But this is just really wonderful.
Thank you.
Your presentation was really good, and looking at the amount of calls, there's definitely a need for it in the community. I guess the one thing that comes to mind and when a dispatch comes in and an officer does get on the scene and something does turn violent, and this person, I mean, do they know like who they can call immediately if this is a crisis intervention? You know, like they're not with somebody that took the course, and when that was dispatched, they didn't know. And so does that just automatically go to, you know, what does that look like? I was just curious.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That can look a couple different things can happen. So we have CIT officers on every shift. And we try to listen for those calls, and sometimes there's too many for us to go to. But everybody, for example, in my shift knows that if there's something that's gonna look weird, just to call me and I'll start heading that way. If I'm available, I'll go wherever I need to in the city to try to help them. But for South Bend PD anyway, dispatch has a list of those officers who are on shift that are CIT trained. And as I'm going to calls and meeting people and family members and things like that, I will educate them on what a CIT officer is and how that is different, and ask them if they have to call again to please ask for a CIT officer. And I know Oaklawn educates the people that they deal with and family members to do the same thing. Today actually was one of the few instances that a community member called and asked specifically for a CIT officer. So how that looked was dispatch saying, hey, is there a CIT officer available to go to this address? And two of us immediately went to the address, and it was a very positive result.
Well, again, I just want to thank you so much. Sounds really wonderful. And it sounds if those are starting to come in that direction, that it's already getting out into the community, the purpose of those officers. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Councilwoman White, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions, just a couple of comments. Most of my fellow council members have also stated the importance of having this particular program, the work that you have done and work that I know you'll continue to do. And I think it's important that we begin to look at ways in which we can support the program because the work that you're doing is directly impacting and having influence within the community. I've heard a lot of positive comments in regards to your work. So thank you so much and just keep up the good work.
Thank you very
Mhm.
much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to go online because I see that President Lee is online. President Lee, is there anything you'd like, any questions or comments you'd like to have?
I would just like to say thank you for your presentation, and we really appreciate the work that you're doing within the community, and the benefits that it's having and the positive outcomes that are coming out of it. So thank you very much.
You.
I have a couple questions that I'll email you that are data related, but I think I'd like to end with this question. When you consider like an incident, what do you consider a successful interaction?
So for me, it is getting someone whatever resources or help that they need. And it being a no contact type incident, no force has to be used, no one gets hurt. I have built rapport with that person because many times they're gonna call again. And that helps to build that rapport with the family member, with that person in crisis, so that if and when things get worse, and often they do, that when I step into the situation, it's automatically gonna probably be a positive interaction that I'm already trusted, and that makes a really big difference.
Okay. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you for your presentation. You've put a lot of time into providing us this information and the data. And thank you for being willing to reschedule when we
Thank
couldn't, when it didn't work out the first time. And if anyone has any further questions, please feel free to email me and I'd be happy to pass them along. Thank you again so much.
Thanks.
Health and Public Safety is adjourned for the evening. Thank you.
The city council?
Yeah. Okay, sure. Sorry about that. Yes. This is Phillies. You open up for me. No, don't want me to after she does that. Yeah. You can say hi here.
Clerk, we ready? At this time, we're gonna call the Community Relations Committee to order. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Committee Member Nisgowsky,
Present.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Present.
Citizen Member Alice Marie Pickens,
She said she is here.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Present.
Committee Chair Gooden Rogers,
Present.
or President.
Before we begin, can I get, a motion to accept the substitute bill?
So move. Second.
At this time,
You voted.
right,
All in,
presenters,
you need to take a vote.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Pardon me. Accepting this.
You don't need a roll for that.
No,
Okay.
not unless someone's online.
No, not committee members, not on.
So we can, do we have a presenter?
Yes. First.
Hello, my name is Sherry Bolden Simpson, 6216 Exeter Court, South Bend, Indiana, 46614, 5th District, and a member of the Community Relations Committee. We're now going to present oh, yes.
Okay. I'm Oliver Davis. I live at 1801 Nash Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46613. And I'm at large for the city of South Bend. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you for allowing us to delay. From last time, we were able to meet with our attorney, and it really worked out, and we got some clarification. As we know, back on in August 11, 2025, we passed Bill 4325 that amended the ordinance, which section 221 of the municipal code pertaining to the fees and process for public records requests in that same night. And then we talked about the whole community review board, and we added some language there that we wanted to come back to put it into the whole operations of the duties of what the review board does. And that vote was passed 6-3. So now, with that understanding, we are coming back here, and there are different sections here that we would like for us to clarify, which are highlighted in red.
So I see this as a formality. It was voted that the Community Review Board should review videos that are relevant to any complaints. So we have to put this substitute bill is putting it in the duties. And our parliamentarian really helped us with formatting the language so understand. And I think at this time, we're going to have, if you would explain how we stayed in compliance with the state statute with this. Is that all right?
That's correct. When it comes down to section C, you see there, number 2, where it says investigated by the Community Peace Board, consistent with the provisions of the Indiana Open Door Law. And also, you see in the back on the section 212.1.17, review of the Office of Director and Staff. Number 3 says review law recordings relevant to any complaint investigated by the community police review officer consistent with the provisions of the Indiana Open Door Law. And so those are the key issues. And you, right up in the beginning, it says certain law enforcement recordings, certain to any. So we use the word certain because of, and he will explain why it's certain instead of all. Thank you.
The original amendment provided for the review board and director to review all law enforcement recordings relevant to any complaint. That raised several questions among members of the council and in the public as to how broad that amendment was. And I believe that the primary purpose of the amendment was to give the review board and the director the authority to review law enforcement recordings. Upon reviewing the background of what we did with the prior amendment and the Indiana open door law, I came to the conclusion that the board director and the board members did have the authority to review law enforcement recordings consistent with the open door law, just as anyone would have the authority to review anything that's a public document or public recording, as long as it's consistent with the open door law. So the substitute bill that was submitted earlier today cuts back on the breadth of the original amendment. It doesn't require the board of director to review all law enforcement recordings. It gives them the authority to review any relevant law enforcement recordings being relevant to a complaint investigated by the police department. I'm sorry, the Community Police Review Board, and also specifies that the review of law enforcement recordings must be done consistent with the Indiana open door law. So we've narrowed the breadth of the original bill, but we've made sure everyone understands that the review board and the director are authorized to review law enforcement recordings as long as that review is consistent with the Indiana open door law.
Attorney Palmer, could you give a little bit more elaboration on what the open door law, how that works in the state of Indiana?
Sure. There are certain, well, back up to the beginning, public documents and public recordings are subject to the Indiana open door law, and anyone can file an APRA request. APRA was access to public records. Thank you. Law. There are some exceptions to what can be produced and what must be produced. Some of those exceptions are involving ongoing investigations by the police department. Other exceptions include contrary to the public interest. Those decisions are made by in our case, the city legal department after the APRA request is filed. However, if the request is not subject to an exception, that documents can be produced to anyone who files a request. There's no need to pay for viewing the document or viewing the recording. You can go into either the police department or the city legal or whatever department has the relevant documents and simply review it. However, if you do want a copy, there is a small charge for copying documents. And as we discussed the last meeting, there is a larger charge if you want to copy what is a term of art law enforcement recordings. And that's the charge for $25 an hour up to a maximum of $75. But this gives the review board and the director the same authority as any other citizens to review open records.
So again, the review board and the director can view those concerning according to the open door law, all those that comply according to the open door law.
Absolutely. And that authority has always been there, but it became obvious that there was some misunderstanding about that. And this amendment makes it clear that they have that authority, so there should be no question in the future.
Okay. And so that's one of the key reasons why it's been added as in the section for the review board section, and also in the section for the review of officers section and their duties.
Another comment, as you review all the duties that are listed of the review board and the director, and you see it is, my point of view is that reviewing some video may be necessary for them to complete these duties that are listed. We have review the allegation of each complaint. If necessary, investigate the allegation, collect, track, and report civilian complaints, suggest revisions to existing or addition of new policies, and facilitate community advisory group. I didn't read the whole thing, but this is the things that they have to do that were in place. And we've just added one more duty, and I think it will facilitate the effectiveness of carrying out the other duties.
With that being presented, can I have, I'm gonna open it up to the council members,
Okay.
to the committee members. Questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'll give comments when you get to that part.
I have a question for
Go for it.
for Mr. Palmer. I just want to make sure, because I'll agree with the basic premise of this, that a review board should be able to view something that is pertinent to what they're investigating. And then I heard us talk about the open door law and the board. So in viewing the procedure that is set forth by state law, is that what will be in a new policy then for the Community Police Review Board to put in place? In other words, they're not going to be viewing this publicly in the chamber because it has to redactions or whatnot. I guess what my question is, how will they be viewing certain, if everything has to be redacted, if there's something they shouldn't be seeing in it?
Correct.
So my question is, how will they be viewing? Who will be setting up that procedure to make sure it meets the Indiana state guideline?
Well, the prerequisite to them viewing anything is that it is publishable under the open door law.
Mhm.
So that means anyone could see it. So if they wanted to establish a policy that they could view the documents or recordings at a meeting, they could do that because there's nothing that they would see that not everybody else in the community could see. But they could also just do it on their own time with a trip to whatever department has custody of the record or recording and do it whenever it's convenient for them.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman White?
Okay, I just wanted to say, again, if you look at the narrative in the ordinance, the first portion that has been changed, I'm really pleased that we are looking at substitute version because there were a lot of concerns and questions in regards to what the review board members, not the director. And I was thinking, if I was on a board and only one person has the opportunity to look and to make decisions and bring it back to me, I would have difficulties with that because I would not have had the opportunity to really look at it. Individual sees things quite differently. And I do know that there were some members of the board that they had some difficulties with that as well. So cleaning up the language and making it very clear who will be doing what and when. But also the board has an attorney. And so that attorney will be there, assisting as well. So I feel very comfortable with substitute version.
And I like to, thank you, Councilwoman White. I'd like to say thank you for presenting this because I also feel that in order to make a good decision, to make the best decision, that the review board should see what's going on. So at this time, I'm going to open it up to the public. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Councilwoman.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chair. Yeah, I appreciate the substitute language. I had a number of concerns that were about the broadness of the language. And I wouldn't have thought that you had intended it to be that broad. And so the language that is suggested addresses that, you know, the term all recordings and any investigation. I mean, it was, I think just helps clarify, you know, that the recording's relevant and to the to those cases being investigated, because it's not every complaint. I mean, there are certain criteria for what decides what complaints are being investigated by the board. And so, so that's really helpful, I think. It is, I had to step away, so I apologize if this is a redundant question, if it was asked, but Attorney Palmer, if I understand correctly, in reality, like, it isn't necessary that we have this included here, because I mean, as you said, the review board and the director does have the ability to review these recordings. Is that like anybody else? Is that correct?
That's correct. However, it was very
So-
obvious at our prior meeting that there was a lot of misunderstanding about that,
Mhm.
even among members of the review board itself.
Mhm.
So the sponsors decided that it was best to clarify that, so there's never any question in the future
Yeah.
among the board, the
Mhm.
director, and I'm sure their attorney would have advised them appropriately even before the amendment. But this makes it clear,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm all for. I think what's really important is that we have laws moving forward. We're not going to be here forever and ever, you know, and so like how things laws get interpreted and what's set, words matter. And so I would agree, fine, you know, they have the ability to do it, whether it's in here or not, but let's go ahead and codify it and put it in here so that, you know, a council 10 years from now, there's no question. And so that's kind of how I think in terms of, you know, putting laws in place that that will outlive us and how important those are. But I also think it's important to make it clear that, you know, I mean, we don't want to misinform the public that, you know, this does not add anything new. You know, the board and the director does have the ability. And so I just want to, you know, make sure we're not, you know, pushing out misinformation or disinformation. And this helps to clarify that. So thank you very much for submitting this substitute.
I'd like to make, no,
It's on the committee.
okay.
I just want to say one thing. I'm on clarification in the review board. I just want to agree with Dr. Davis and the other councilwoman. There should, the members should review information and material that is set before them, because I wouldn't want anyone to make a decision on me. Or it's just like you going to the doctor and the surgeon say, okay, whatever they say, I'm going in blind. So it's good, and those only members will have that. The review board members will only have eyes on that decision, and it wouldn't be put to public. But the members of the review board should have the right to review material before they make decisions. I don't want nobody ever making a decision on me, and I haven't seen the information.
And I appreciate that, because in our rebuttal, I think for us to share anything right now with that part of it, or do we have to wait for the public? Do we have that? Let's go to the public.
That was gonna be next.
So, Mr.
At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public.
If you're wishing to speak in favor of the bill, you can approach the podium. And please state your name and address. Thank you.
Joseph Adams, 3400 South High, South Bend, Indiana, 46614. And I'm here representing the review board as the current chair. Madam Chair, I'd like to thank you and the esteemed members of this council subcommittee. If it pleases the chair, I'd like to give some brief remarks so that I can yield time to our council. Madam Chair, while I'm here to represent the review board as its current chair, I'd like to recognize and thank my own 5th district and 3 at-large councilors. I'd like to thank the Common Council Chair, Kenneth Lee, for the chair's leadership in navigating the many and sometimes conflicting interests, not only from amongst the council, but from outside of it, to find resolve for a stronger council in the best interest of its residents instead of any other entity. While all the work that this council does when properly and regularly reviewed may prove to be worthwhile, this particular work will prove to be most valuable. This particular work transcends any political interests and deals directly with the foundational interests on which this country was built: a multi-branch government with appropriate checks and balances. During my time in service, us higher ranking leaders performed regular and required duty of checks and inspections, not only on those who reported to us, but also on one another. Trust and verify, we said. While we trusted one another, we verified for ourselves. This idea is idea, Madam Chair. In the council's wisdom, they created the review board as both a quasi-judicial and oversight board as a checks and balance, not in contempt of any other branch, but to verify the work that we trust to be done. Now, in its wisdom, this subcommittee seeks to empower that board with all that it needs to do its job. And this unmistakably empowers the council to best do its job. That's my time.
Did he give his name and address for the record? I didn't. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I'm sorry, I
Yes,
didn't
he
do
did.
that.
Are you speaking in for? We still,
Speaking in favor.
no, I was talking to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Chair Gooden Rogers, Vice Chair White,
Mhm.
President Lee, Dr. Davis, Ms. Bolden Simpson, council members, clerk, Mr. Palmer. I am Bob Masters, professional offices at 350 Columbia Street. Personal address is 1906 East Madison Street, both in South Bend. I am the attorney for the Community Police Review Board, and I am here to speak in favor of the substitute bill and ask that you send it to the committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Adams, our board chair, for his comments. It's hard not to imagine a very large American flag waving behind him when he speaks about these sort of fundamentally patriotic way about our what we still call hundreds of years later, the American experiment. This is a timely issue. Our board met on Thursday evening and unanimously voted to ask this body to allow the members of the review board access to law enforcement recordings. Now, if you have ever heard a police officer called a Bobby, it's not because of me, and it's not because of your attorney, Bob Palmer. It's because of Sir Robert Peel, who, in addition to being a British prime minister in the 19th century, is also the founder of Scotland Yard. And Sir Peel had a philosophy